Let's speak about Angular features in Vue. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Natalia Teplukhina, and I'm a Google developer expert in web technologies, an official Vue community partner, and the CTO of VueJS organization. And recently, I got a job as a senior front-end engineer at GitLab. Thank you, Simona. And I'm tired of front-end framework wars. Last year, we had a lot of comparisons in terms of NPM downloads, GitHub stars, and a lot of different metrics. And every time I read another article about Angular, vs React, vs Vue, I'm very confused. Because in fact, every framework has its own awesome features. That's why developers tend to love it. And wouldn't it be wise to take these features and to use them with a framework of your choice? My first front-end framework usually was AngularJS. Probably it's like default choice. It was the first one. And I worked with it, I was happy with it, and of course I was waiting for the release of Angular 2. And Angular 2 was released on September 14, 2016, and surprise, 2 weeks later, Vue 2.0 was released. I tried it, and I really liked it. I started to do a lot of pet projects with VueJS, while continuing working with an Angular. And there are 2 features in Angular I really love. And I really want to use in all my projects, like independently, if they are Vue, React, anything, and these features are TypeScript and RxJS. Let's have a look at them briefly and see how they are implemented in the VueJS. So TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript that compiles to the JavaScript. And Microsoft called it JavaScript that scales. I call it JavaScript on steroids. And these steroids usually are types. In TypeScript, you can type pretty much anything. You can type a variable, you can type a function parameter, function return type, like anything you want. And of course, you can use, like in this example, JavaScript basic types, primitives, and you can create your own types. Okay, in fact, it's interface, but it's really similar to a type in terms of TypeScript. And it's a custom type named user that has 3 fields. It's a name string, surname string, and age number. Okay, but probably typing anything and creating your own types is a lot of work. Why do you need it? First of all, TypeScript has awesome error linting. So if you look at this example, we are trying to return a string from the function, and this function has 2 parameters. Both of them are string. And if you try to return something wrong, you will see it immediately with your IDE. Let's have a look at this simple example. So there is a function that accepts user and trying to console log user age. And we are sending the parameter person, which has only one property, it's a name, no age here. Let's run the function, and guess what? What you will see in the console? Anyone? You will see undefined. And it's really bad, because it won't be an error thrown. You won't see something is wrong. In fact, you are trying to console log the property that doesn't exist on this object, but thanks to the JavaScript, you won't see an error, and probably a part of your application is not working at this moment, and you are not aware of it. Let's try to have the same example with a TypeScript. So we are creating an interface user, and we are adding a type to our parameter. And again, trying to print it to the console. Let's have a look what's happened. In fact, you don't need a console. You will see error immediately in your IDE, even before the code is compiled. Of course, TypeScript has a lot of nice features like generics, namespaces, tuples, like a lot of different stuff, but types is the main one. It's the one that gives a name to the TypeScript, and that's why we love to use it. So, what about Vue? Vue is kind of different from Angular. In Angular, TypeScript is something natural. It's written on TypeScript. But with Vue, now you have an improved TypeScript support since Vue 2.5, and more to say, the next iteration of Vue framework will be internally rewritten on TypeScript. Good news, if you're not using TypeScript and you don't plan to use it, you can use Vue 3.0 with a simple JavaScript, but for us, TypeScript lovers, it's a really, really great news because it will be a lot easier to work with the TypeScript in Vue. Right now, if you're using TypeScript in Vue application, you have a choice between two syntaxes. First one is more familiar to Vue users. Are there any Vue programmers here? Okay, it's nice. I'm not alone. So, it's pretty familiar to you. It's the same object syntax Vue single file component has, but we add in types with a keyword s. And if you try to return this name in the method, you see there is an error. And the second one is more familiar to Angular users. It's a class style component that uses decorators, and there are no data property, no methods property. We have only variables and functions. So if you go to Vue from the Angular perspective, it will be more familiar for you. Nice thing is TypeScript support could be easily added with the Vue CLI. You don't need to create tsconfig, tslint, anything. You can simply type Vue add TypeScript on a Vue CLI powered project. And with some simple magic, you will have the full support of TypeScript in your application. Problems. Of course, there are some problems. That's why the next iteration will be rewritten in TypeScript. First one is plugins and libraries, because a lot of them were created on simple plain JavaScript and they don't have typings. And if you want to use this library in your TypeScript application, you will probably need to create typings yourself. And the second part is about Vuex. For those of you who don't use Vue, Vuex is a state manager for VueJS. And problem is it has actions and mutations and they are string-based, and it's really hard to type string-based actions. Okay, let's end with the TypeScript and move to RxJS. RxJS is abbreviation. It's Reactive Extensions Library for JavaScript. And as stated is an official ReactiveX documentation, ReactiveX is an API for synchronous programming with observable streams. Absolutely not intuitive, like it means nothing. But in fact, there is a key to understand RxJS, and this key is thinking in streams. And stream here is not something unfamiliar, not something alien for a developer. If user types on the keyboard, it's a collection of events, of key up events, it's a stream. Caching data, API calls, tweets. Tweets is a nice example because you have a feed, you have a collection of events where tweet is exactly an event. And you can react to them, you can like them, retweet, you can subscribe, you can work with them. So streams, as I said, are a collection of events. And what RxJS is? It's a Lodash for events, because collection in JavaScript is just an array, and we have Lodash and a lot of Lodash methods to operate with arrays. So you can consider RxJS as a Lodash. It provides a lot of methods to work with this collection of events, to combine streams, to change them. The core concept of RxJS is observable. Let's have a look at this table, and this table represents the all primitives of JavaScript. So singular synchronous primitive is just a value. String, number, boolean, object, anything. plural synchronous primitive is a collection, is an iterable, it's an array. Singular asynchronous primitive is a promise, and at some moment of time, promise will resolve to value or throw an error. But there is a missing one. It's a plural asynchronous primitive, and it's an observable. Right now, observable is a proposal to TC39 committee, and let's hope someday it will be included to ECMAScript standard. Let's compare observable to promise to see the difference. So this is a timeline, and at some moment of time, promise is either resolving or rejecting, and it's the moment where promise is completed. Nothing will continue after this moment, so it's a single moment of time. Observable will emit values one by one, and at some moment of time, observable will complete. And you can see this moment of time might be different from the latest emitted value. So, RxJS Operators, fun functional part of RxJS. It's exactly operators to transform, filter, combine, and alter streams, and there are a lot of them. And when I say a lot, it means really a lot. Good news, you don't need to know all of them. You can always check the reference on Learn RxJS.io and see how it works. What about Vue? There is a library named VueRx, and you can simply install it and RxJS as a pure dependency, import it to your main.js file, and Vue use VueRx. And you will have a support of RxJS in your application. Alternatively, you can run Vue add Rx with a Vue CLI plugin. And it's a moment of shameless plug because I made this plugin. Sorry. So, I know the theory of RxJS sounds really complicated and probably not really clear. Oh, the code is not really readable. But can you see the code, at least something from it? Okay. Let's try to build an example in Vue application with RxJS. What we are going to implement is a live search. So we want to type here, and we want to have a list of movies from the MovieDB. And I've already created a simple method that will return a promise with an Axios library, with a query. So we are going to form the query. To do so, we will need to create a stream. We need actually something to observe. So let's go and try to build it. VueRx provides a new directive for Vue. It's named VStream. And you need to specify an event from which we are creating a stream. For us, it will be keyUp, but more to say, it will be keyUp native, because we want to see the keyUp on input field, not on vText field. It's a Vuetify component. And we need to provide a name. Let's name it search with a $. Common convention for observables is to add a $sign at the end of their name.